Yo, welcome to tonight's class, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Mr. E. We got a fabulous class. We're going to do accent training. Did you know that there are 15 vowels in English? And today we're going to cover 3 of those vowels, and that is why we have an accent. But if you learn these vowels, if you learn accent training, you'll be able to speak clearly. You'll be able to pronounce words more confidently in a let's say a refined way. So if it's refined, people will understand you. You won't need to repeat yourself. And when you speak clear English, people actually respect that. People respect that, and they remember, oh, that it was that guy, that girl that speaks nicely, so people respect that. And furthermore, for jobs as an accent trainer, I used to evaluate people, and people that spoke clearly, they would get better job offers. So there are many reasons why you need to constantly improve your English. Welcome to the 1% club, because 99% of the population are just fine with the way that they're speaking English, and they say, well, that's the only way I'm going to do it. But the 1% are seeking to say it refined, to control it. So that's what accent training is about. It's for people that are not conformed with just, I'm going to kind of say the words. No, where accent training, like I said, is a class that gives you the proper phonetic language pronunciation tools and skills so you're able to speak refined English. Our topic for today is going to be concerning vowels. Vowels. Oh God! Quick story. I just I just trained a couple of students for their TOEFL examination, and they've added another skill. So besides speaking, they're also evaluating how you announce English, the vowel sound. So actually, one of the students, everybody did pretty good, but there was a feedback that included um, opportunities on vowels. So it says you did a good job, it was okay. However, it's not sounding clear. There's no control of the vowels, right? So even in those types of exams, which are sometimes graded by AI, by artificial intelligence, they actually pick up the vowels. So everything that you're watching right now in this transcription, if you're seeing a subtitle in real time, it's because the AI or the artificial intelligence in this Zoom app is in real time changing my words to English. And if I mispronounce something or if it doesn't understand what I'm saying, it's going to write something differently, right? And that's why you also need to do it, because right now, actually, I talked to somebody this week who called us up and said, "Hey, look, I'm so tired because I never get 100 points for my QA score. Turns out that it's not a human anymore that's grading us; it's an AI, and the AI is not recognizing what I'm saying, right? The words that I'm saying, and it's marking me down. So it's not marking me for empathy. It's not marking me in different areas. What can I do?" And I said, well, have you heard about accent training? Have you heard about the vowels? And she said, no. Well, that's one way, because once you're able to enunciate English correctly, then even AI machines, right, computers will be able to detect the words and score you correctly, because many of these evaluations are automated through AI systems. So that's another reason for you. But don't worry, you're in good hands. I'm here for you. I'm here to give you all these tips, all these treasures, right? So take notes. You're in the right place for learning, and I'm super excited and hyped up about this one. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. Well, what we're going to do today is I'm going to present to you these 3 vowel sounds. We're going to talk about vowels in English. And before the class I started, I told you that there were 15 vowels. Today we're going to cover 3, so that's going to help you a lot. But um, before we dive into the context itself, I mean, wanted to share with you something to help you a little bit in your journey, your learning journey. Just a little quick message. Wanted to take 5 minutes of your time in doing so. So we've been talking. Last week we talked about success. We had a nice definition, which is success is a series of simple disciplines repeated every day. A series of simple disciplines repeated every day. And, you know, sometimes we come to class and we expect that with one class, we're going to improve, tremendously, right? That we're going to just come to a couple of classes and that's it. And we want to see immediate results. Sometimes we come to class and think, oh, I want to just have amazing listening just by taking 2 classes. Sometimes we kind of get into that mindset and we want to have immediate results or overnight results. And as a matter of fact, learning doesn't occur like that, right? It doesn't really occur overnight, or it's not going to happen with a couple of classes, right? It's a process. It's a process. So to give you a perspective, to give you a different perspective on how it works, and for you to have a different mindset, I just found this very interesting proverb from the Bible. I'm not an expert. I'm by no means I'm an amateur. I'm not an expert in the Bible, but I just found it so uh, relative to connected to what we're talking about. And the proverb goes like this. It says, "By wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge, its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures." So by wisdom, a house is built, and through understanding, it is established. Through knowledge, its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. This is from Proverbs 23, chapters 3 and 4. You might want to look it up. So what does this mean? Well, I don't know if you guys ever constructed something, or if you guys are in construction. If you're in construction, you pretty much know what I'm saying, right? Um, the wise person, the wise man knows that a city was not built in a day. So Guatemala City was not built in one day. Bogota was not built in one day. It was a series of consistent efforts and people collaborating over a period of extended years that actually established the city of Guatemala, Bogota, Mexico, etc. So the same thing is in terms of your knowledge and your English development, if you want to see it like that. So going back to the proverb, um, a house, as you guys know, a house is not built overnight. So a house is not going to be constructed, in a day. So even a house is going to take time because you need to put bricks, foundations on top of each other in order to build the house. So every brick is going to contribute to the house, to the rooms, to what the house is going to be. And it's a process. So in the proverb, it says there, by wisdom, right? By wisdom is collected knowledge over the years. A house is built, and through understanding, right? Through the knowledge, it is established. So we can think about the bricks in the house and the foundations. Through knowledge, its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. What does that mean? So in the same way that you come to the class, every class that you come to, every session that you participate in, it's like putting a little brick, adding bricks to your English knowledge. So in every class, you're putting a brick, right? You're building a foundation. And every time you practice, you come to class, you participate, and you give examples, you grow in knowledge, you grow in confidence and skills. And just like the rooms of a house could be filled with many objects, in your case, your personal rooms, your areas in your mind are filled with the correct knowledge, right? And this knowledge is actually very special, right? It's here it says that these rooms are filled with rare, not common, and beautiful treasures, right? Beautiful treasures. So in the same way, the knowledge that you come and receive, whether that be accent training, grammar, or any type of language related aspect, that knowledge is going to fill the spaces in your mind, right? And that's going to be a treasure for you in the future. Sometime down the future, you're going to be able to take that knowledge, that experience that you learned in the class and use it. And that's going to be your treasure. That's going to be your treasure, right? So in short, just like a house is not built in a day, right? The same way is your learning process. When you come here, it's going to be one brick at a time. So the more you participate, the more you come, the more context and content you absorb, and you're building your house. And just like learning is not going to happen overnight, right? It's a process. It's going to happen through a process, right? Just like building a house. And when you finish your learning, you're going to have this beautiful house built and these beautiful rooms with all of this knowledge in them, right? So I want you to think about that when you come to class. Come and participate. You know, just like learning does not happen overnight. It's a series of simple disciplines of coming to class, of taking notes, of participating in class, on watching the videos that are provided again, and taking that knowledge and growing piece by piece. And in some time, you know, in a short time, you'll be able to look back and say, wow, I improved so much. I didn't know all of this, but now I'm able to control all of this, right? So just wanted to share that with you guys, so you guys feel much better about your learning process and you have a better mindset. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share this evening as something extra. Anyways, let's move on to our topic for tonight. Our topic for tonight has to do with accent training. So as I said, did you know that there are 15 vowels in English? So in today's class, we're going to learn probably 3 of the most important vowels. So take a lot of notes. Um, take a lot of notes. Take a lot of information down, because I'll be giving you different examples. When it comes to accent training, we are going to use a system of writing which is called the IPA. So those of you who've been in my classes know what I'm talking about. It stands for International Phonetic Alphabet. Okay, International Phonetic Alphabet. So the IPA is just simply an alphabet, a phonetic alphabet that's used to represent sounds, phonetic sounds, vowels, and consonants in any language. And it's used to teach languages and to pronounce languages by linguistics. So that's a system that we're going to use, and you're going to see all these symbols, and these symbols are going to represent vowels and consonants. So today's symbols are going to be these. We're going to learn 3 vowels, the forms of the sound. So here we have short to long. We have ah, ah. Okay, from very short, a little bit longer, and long. Okay, to improve your accent, you need to learn these vowels, but you also need to imitate the mouth movements. So when you speak English, your mouth is going to open and do things that we don't do in Spanish. So it could be weird. Some people don't like that. But if you want to speak good English, you have to. Okay. So let's take a look at 3 of these vowels that, well, we don't use them in Spanish, right? They're not recognized in Spanish. In Spanish, we have our 5 a, e, I, o, u. So we only use these, right? But in addition to these, we're going to add these other vowels. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some examples. Let's talk about the most important vowel in the English language is going to be the schwa vowel, which is this one. So write it down in your notebook. It's like a letter E inverted on its head. And when we write phonetics, we put the phonetics inside a slash, a forward slash, just like that. This vowel, I need you to learn it, is called the schwa, right? The schwa, that's the name that's given to it. It's a vowel that will, its function is to replace, vowels. in words. So the schwa sound is going to replace these vowel sounds. What is the sound of the schwa? The sound of the schwa is very simple. It's just an sound. Ah, ah, ah. And it is unstressed, right? What is unstressed? So there is no accent to it. It's not accented. You know, typically in the Spanish language, we put a little tilde mark on top of the vowels to show stress, where the syllable stress is located. In English, we don't have tildes, right? We don't use the tilde. So we have to listen to the word to know where the stress is. Going back to the schwa is unstressed. That means it's never going to be stressed. So whenever the schwa replaces a vowel, it's not going to be stressed. That syllable is not going to have it's not going to be stressed. Okay. So that's these are the characteristics of the schwa. So the sound is it's going to replace vowels, and it's going to be unstressed. So I'll give you some examples on the board, and you guys can start taking notes on how that works. So I'll start with basic examples. So for example, take a look at this word, right? So the word is method, pronounced method in English, but when we don't know the vowel, we say method, right? We don't know the sounds. So to get the American accent, we're going to transcribe this by using a forward slash. Here, we're going to use the E sound, like in Spanish, E. The TH sound, of course, which is this symbol. The O, this is the cool part. We're going to replace the O for the schwa. So we'll put the schwa instead of the O. What does that mean? That the O sound that we all traditionally know, no more. It's out of the picture. So we're not going to say method. No, we're going to say method. Method. Okay. So here we see how the schwa is replacing the O. So we're going to say method. Method. Another example of this would be, for example, in the word famous. In the word famous, we're going to transcribe it like this. The letter A is a diphthong, fay. The O and the U. Check this out. The schwa is going to replace the O and the U, like so. Okay? And we'll just put the S. So we're not going to say famous. We're going to say famous. Here, the schwa replaced two vowels. Two vowels. So we say mes, famous, famous, famous. Okay? So here we've got the schwa replacing one vowel. Well, in this example, we've got two vowels being replaced. There are many examples like that we're going to see. Sometimes the schwa will replace more than one vowel in different syllables of the word. So let's take a look at a longer word like commitment. Commitment. Let's write it. Let's pronounce it correctly. The C is going to be pronounced as a K sound. Here, we're going to replace the O for a schwa. So we're not going to say ko. We're going to say ka, commitment. Here, we're just going to pronounce one M. Here, the I in commitment, we'll use commit. That's going to be a short I, eh. And the last E will be a schwa sound. Commitment. Commitment. So in this word, we have two schwas in two different syllables. And like I mentioned, the syllable ka and ment are unstressed. So these syllables, the O and the E, are not stressed. So they're not going to be accented. Never, because the schwa is never accented. Which means that the syllable that is accented is the second one here. I. Commitment. 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 So the second one is going to be with a stress because the schwa cannot be stressed. Okay. Let's take a look at some other words here. So this word, we've got chocolate, chocolate. If we don't know that, we're going to say chocolate or something like that. But here, we're going to use the correct sound. The CH will be this symbol, the T and the long S sound. The O here will be chocolate. So here we're going to use a long ah sound for the O. Chocolate. Here, this O is not pronounced. It's not pronounced, so I'm not going to put it here. Let, this part is going to be a schwa, so that A is a schwa in a T over here. Chocolate. The letter E is not pronounced. It's silent, so I'm not going to include it here in the phonetics. So I'll just say chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. All right. And let's take a look at some other words. For examples here, we've got this word, history, history. So we don't say history. Here the H has a sound, so we'll say his, the. Here the O is a schwa. We'll use the schwa. And the long E sound. E, history, history, history. Let's see what else we got here. To give you some other examples, take a look at the word customer as well. Here, the word customer, we'll use the schwa 2 times in this word. And the letter U is going to be replaced for an ah sound. Ah. Customer. So in the first syllable, we'll have the accent. Customer. This syllable is always accented, while the schwa is not. So the accent is on the first syllable. Customer. Customer. Okay. So those are some quick examples for you to start understanding the schwa. So let's review so far. The schwa is going to replace vowels in words, only vowels. The sound is right? And it's never stressed. If you want to try it, you can put your hand underneath your jaw and say uh. Your jaw shouldn't move. It's just relaxed, very relaxed. Okay. So pronouncing the schwa, we'll say method, famous, commitment, chocolate, history, and customer. Okay. Let's take a look at some other applications for the schwa. I'll just give you some other examples here. I'll write them down here on the board for you. Okay. Okay. Let's move on. I hope that you're taking notes. Take as many notes as possible so you can go back and have an accent reference of these words. Okay. So let me go ahead and give you some other examples here. For example, when we say the word rhythm, the word rhythm here, we're going to pronounce it like this, rhythm. So in between the TH and the M, we're going to put a schwa, like so, and say rhythm, rhythm, rhythm. I'll give you some other examples. For example, when you say in the word little, you're going to do the same thing. Here you use a flap T and you put the schwa here. Little, little, little. Give you some other examples. For example, when you say the word, let's say, criticism, criticism, here we're going to put a schwa in between the S and the M. So we're going to be able to create a vowel sound. So we'll say criticism. si, some, like so. So now we got a syllable there, and it's much easier to pronounce. Criticism, criticism. So the schwa enabled a sound, a vowel sound, and that is why we're able to say some here, some, criticism. Okay, let's take a look at some other examples. At the beginning of some words, like ago. So here we're going to say go. This O is a diphthong, so that's why we use the O and the U, ago. For example, consider the example of consent as so. So we're going to say it like this. We're going to replace the O for a schwa and say consent, like so. Consent, consent. Okay, so there you have some other examples of how the schwa creates a vowel in some words and how it helps you pronounce the L as well in some words as well. So we'll say rhythm, little, criticism, ago, and consent. That sounds good. Okay. Let me go ahead and give you some other examples of other patterns that you might find. The schwa, it's going to make you sound so good. You're going to sound different, while other people are just conformed with kind of saying the words because they never get feedback, they never want to improve, they want to stay the same. You guys are going to sound different. Let me share with you another important tip. So the TION, this ending is very common of nouns in English, and you ought to pronounce it like this. So you're going to say shin. The T is going to be a long sh sound. The I and the O, you're going to replace those two for a schwa, like this, and the N sound remains. So when you have this ending, you're going to say shen, shen. You're never going to say tiong. As a matter of fact, the O sound doesn't exist anymore. So you shouldn't say tiong. You should say shen, shen. And of course, there are so many words that have this type of ending. Let's see. No, not that one. Let's see. Yes. And we'll say nation there. That was the one. Okay, great. So here you're gonna say shin for this part. So action. So you're gonna say the first A is nasal, ak, shin. So we'll transcribe it like so. Action, action. Second word, we'll say precision, position, passe, and then shin, precision, and nation. Here we'll say a, shin. We use the long S sound. Nation. Okay. So whenever you have a word that finishes with T-I-O-N, pronounce it with shin. So you'll say it action, position, and nation. That's going to help you a lot. Another instance where you could also use the schwa is when you have an O-N ending. Give you some examples of that. So it's very common when you're considering when you have endings with an O and an N. When you have these type of endings, you're not going to say on, you're going to use the schwa instead. Okay? So, for example, take a look at the name For example, Nelson. So in English, you should pronounce this as Nelson, not Nelson. So it'll be pronounced like this, Nelson. Nelson. Another popular name, perhaps here we'll say 99% of people that are learning English, they say Washington, right? They pronounce it like regular O, but here, if you know the sound now, you can pronounce it better. And you're going to say Washington, Washington, Washington. Sounding much better, much clearer. The name, you're not going to say Anderson, you're going to say Anderson using the correct vowel sounds. It'll be pronounced as Anderson. Anderson, not Anderson. And of course, this cool name here, right? People say Emerson, but when they get the name right, they say Emerson. Emerson instead of Emerson. Okay. So yeah, if you got an O ending, use the schwa, pronounce it with the schwa, it's gonna sound different. People are gonna immediately say like, "Whoa, this sounds different," right? Nelson, Washington, Anderson, Emerson. So that's gonna sound super, super cool. All right, guys. So that's just our first introduction to what the schwa is. So going back to what the schwa is, the schwa is a vowel sound in English. It's the most important sound. It's going to replace vowels. It's going to be the sound with no stress. And it can replace one vowel. It can replace many vowels in a word. It can be in different syllables in a word and whatnot. So it's very important that you guys, it's critical. It's critical that you guys identify it and listen to it. It's going to help with your spelling. If you understand the schwa, it's going to help you with the spelling as well. So I totally recommend that you guys start paying attention to it. From now on, when I use this symbol, you guys know that I'm referring to the schwa, and the sound is the sound. Now, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the other sound here, which is the with an accent. Let's take a look. All right, team, let's move on to our next vowel sound. As I mentioned at the beginning of the class, there are 15 vowels in English. So far, we've learned the first sound, which is the schwa sound, probably the most important vowel sound that you need to learn in English. The second most important vowel sound is going to be this phonetic symbol, which is going to be like a little triangle. I like to call it the volcano sound. It looks like a volcano, I think. And you're going to put it in between these two forward slashes. The sound that you're going to produce is an sound. Sound. Now, you might think, Mr. E, that kind of sounds like the schwa. Well, it does. But the difference is that the is accented. So we generally use the when the vowel is accented. It's also stressed when we say that a vowel is stressed, it means that you're going to find the accent, or how we generally in Spanish use the tilde mark. And of course, it's going to replace vowels. The thing with the in the way that in the way that it's pronounced differently than the schwa is you'll have a jaw movement. So if you put your hand underneath your jaw, this is your jaw. So you put your hand underneath your jaw and say the jaw will move in order to produce the accent. Now, this is a super cool vowel that you need to learn because you've got all these words here that involve, let's say, the letter O, right? The letter U in English, but in Spanish, our Spanish brain uses the 5 vowels that we know. So we say o, u. And when we use the Spanish vowels with English words, then that's what causes an accent, and that's what may cause like people not to understand you. The AI is not going to understand you. So, or customers are not, they're not going to be 100% clear. So, um, the using the will allow you to have an American accent. So let's take a look here. Here, the O and the U are going to be replaced by the sound. So we're not going to say O, we're not going to say U, we're going to say Take a look at these simple words, but if you pronounce them with it's going to just make you sound like the 1%. So let's take a look. So here you're going to say cut. We're going to pronounce the U like so. Cut, cut, and not good. You guys will say up here. Here, 99% of people say from, but you will not say that. You're going to say from. From. Here, you're going to say month, like so. Month, 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 not month. This word is going to be pronounced as love. I like how that sounds. Love, love, with a V at the end. Love sounds cool. 99% of people say come, but you're going to say come. Ooh, that sounds great. Come. Here we've got none. Same thing. We'll say none as so. But you can also take a look at the mouth. None, come, from, some, up, under. So you never see my mouth going kut, up, from. No, right? You never see the O or the U because I'm using the vowel. Here are some more examples. You know, here we must say but and never but. Here, everybody says money, but you should say money with an vowel. Money, money. Here, we're going to say lunch, like so. Lunch. Here, you guys will say, I'll just put a little on top of the vowel. We're going to say summer. Here, you're going to say under. And this pronoun is pronounced as us, us. Moving on to this example here, we've got uncle. So the U sounds like an uncle. The verb was, was. Here, the O will be mother. Here, we're going to replace the O and the U. So the O and the U are just one sound, one vowel. And you'll say country, country. Interesting. This little preposition, 99% of the people say off. That's wrong. You're going to say it now like this. Of. So the O is an A and the F is a V. The of. The United States of America. Different. Okay, of. It's going to make you sound better. Here, of course, do not say run. You're going to say run. Like so. Phonetically correct. Okay, run. So, as you can see, the vowel is stressed. So, let's say in a word that has more than one syllable, like, for instance, consider the word country. So, here you'll find the stress in the word. Okay, so if you pronounce the vowel correctly, your English is going to sound clearer. People are going to understand you. They're going to actually kind of respect you more because your English sounds better. And even artificial intelligence will be able to pick up the words, right, and give you a good score. Because now all these types of evaluations are done through machines. So you got to consider that. Well, a human might say, this guy's doing pretty good. I'll give him a chance, a human evaluator. But a machine is just zeros and ones. You say it correctly or you don't say it correctly. That's the way it is. So practice. All right, guys. So let's move on to the third vowel for tonight. In our previous, just a moment ago, we talked about the vowel, which is the accented sound in English. Now it's time to talk about a rather long vowel sound, which is the aw sound. Aw, aw sound. The ah sound is a vowel sound in English. It's a long vowel sound. It's represented by the letter A and two dots beside it. So generally, you're going to find two little dots. These two dots in phonetics, what they mean is that the sound is long. So when you see a vowel with two little dots, sometimes it could be two little triangles. It means that the sound is prolonged or rather long. Okay. So it's completely different from the other two because this is really short. Ah, ah, ah. So you see it's rather long. And it will also replace vowels in words. For the examples that we've got here, we're going to replace the O and we're going to replace also, yeah, for these and the letter A, some examples. So we're going to replace the O and the A for the sound. Ah. So, like when you go to a checkup, when you go to the doctor and the doctor says, open up your mouth and say, ah, ah, right? It's the doctor sound. So take a look at, consider these examples. So here, the O, you're not going to say option. You're going to say option. Option, doctor. Look at my mouth. I'm not saying O. Dollar, job, not, office, boss, father, knowledge, possible, often. So you see, I'm not saying oh. Let's take a look here. So for this word, you're going to say option. You're going to say option with a schwa. Option, option. Here you'll say doctor, doctor, doctor. So you don't say doctor, you say doctor. Here you're going to say dollar. You're going to say dollar, right? Your American customers will understand you more. Dollar, don't say dollar. Here you're going to say job, job, not job. And, just little words like not. So you're not going to say not. You're going to say not. It's going to be much clearer. Here, the O, you're going to say office. Like so, office. For this word, you're going to say boss. Like so. Boss. This word, you'll say father. Like so. For this word, you're going to say knowledge. The letter O, we're going to use the A. The K is silent, so you don't need to transcribe that. You're just going to go like so. Na, ledge, knowledge. Next word is possible. So the O here will be an A. So we'll say possible. Like so, possible and not possible, possible. And as a matter of fact, this adverb has two pronunciations. You could pronounce it as often, for example, often, often, or you could say you can you can you can omit the letter T and say often, like so, often, often. Okay. So you could say Often or often. I prefer often. I'm just used to saying often a lot, often. Okay. So the ah sound is going to be a long sound, right? Very long sound. And it will replace the O and the A. Let's listen again. Listen, if you want to practice on your end, you can practice. Option, option. Mr. Customer, press the option. Doctor, doctor. Dollar, dollar. Job, job. Not, not. Office, office. Boss, boss. Father, father. Knowledge, knowledge. Possible, possible. Often, often or often, often. Okay. So with this vowel, you're going to be well equipped to pronounce common words in English, and that's going to give you a competitive advantage over other people that don't know about the vowels. Okay. So in short, these three vowels are essential for the English language if you want to speak clearly, if you want people to understand you, customers to understand you, and even artificial intelligence to understand you. So go ahead and practice it and learn them, and keep in mind that your English is how people are going to define you. So I hope that you enjoyed this accent training class, guys. We're going to go ahead and do a little practice right now on the board for you to solidify the knowledge. Okay.